Hey guys, this is Juan with the Cine-Men Movie Podcast, letting you know that this episode is brought to you by San Marcos Mexican Restaurants, located right here at 2301 Southwest 59th Street in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Give them a shout out, and don't forget, let Abel know that the Cine-Men Movie Podcast sent you for an extra 10% off your entire purchase. San Marcos Mexican Restaurant. Don't forget, they also have $5 Margarita Wednesdays, frozen or on the rocks Wednesdays at select locations, and let them know that we sent you, and give them a big shout out. San Marcos Mexican Restaurant, great food and even better customer service. It's the only restaurant of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.
You like that, old man? You want a piece of me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Happy Monday, moviegoers. Welcome to X, welcome to A24 month, and welcome to the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Juan, and I'm joined by the cast, the crew, the guys. Craig,
What up?
Edward,
Hey, you guys.
how are you guys doing? Episode 208. We're talking about X, our final A24 movie, at least of the month, as we conclude A24 month here in August. Craig, we'll start with you, man. You have a good weekend? You ready for another good Monday?
Yeah. No, I had a pretty good Monday. We got some college football on Saturday.
Don't lie, Craig. You ain't got to lie, Craig.
What are we lying about?
You know what? It let's just say it has been a Monday. We can all three
Oh,
agree.
but being here right now, work aside, dealing with people who are incoherent and ignorant, we ain't gonna worry about it. We ain't gonna worry about it.
We're not worrying about it. And yeah, I like the way we're going from 0 to 60. Great weekend, tough Monday, but a better Monday night, a great Monday night. I get to sit here and talk A24 movies with you two young, great gentlemen. But
And then even better Monday next Monday
Monday,
because it's off. We have Monday off. Well, I do.
Wow.
Well, you know what? It's we never have a Monday off here on the Cinema Movie Podcast. Next week,
Oh, okay.
Labor Day Monday. Craig, I'm glad you brought it up, man. I'm gonna go ahead. I was gonna wait, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and get ready to just shove it now. Next Monday, guys. Does anybody want to take a crack at what next Monday is?
September.
Not only is it Labor Day.
It's a Monday. It's Labor Day.
Monday,
Football
Labor
season's
Day.
officially kicked off.
Football season's officially kicked off.
It's the 5th.
It is the 4-year anniversary episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. And what better way to celebrate than talk about a movie that is themed about our entire year. This entire year is dedicated to Mr. Denzel Washington. Next Monday, we celebrate 4 years of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast as we review Philadelphia, Tom Hanks, Denzel Washington. And then, we're going to have a retrospect, look back at all the fun episodes that we've done.
All of them?
All of them. A
Oh,
retrospective.
there's like 208.
Episode 100 to episode 208. We're going to talk about our top 5 favorite conversations that we've ever had on this episode. Not necessarily, you guys are going to have to do some digging. We're all going to have to do some digging. Not our favorite episodes. We're going to talk our top 5 conversations, whether it be the Lion King conversation. Last week, me and Ed talked about what art is and what art isn't.
The bra and panties.
The bra and panties from Bodies. So we have a lot of great, fun conversations. I think it's going to be fun. It has been it's been an honor.
That's going to be tough to remember.
To do this for 4 years. You guys got to go back and I'm going to be going back. I've already started going back and just listen to some fun some fun conversations. Craig, we're a Last Jedi conversation.
108 episodes, man.
So 208, not 108.
Well, no. You said from episode 100 to episode 208. So that's 108 episodes right there. Yeah. That's a ton of content with like an hour and a half to 3 hours in between all of those, dude. Yeah. That's a ton of time. Oh,
yeah. But you know what, guys? It's definitely been worth the fun. I can't wait for next week. But today we're talking about X. A24 month concludes. The last week's bonus episode, if you guys want to listen to it, go back and check it out. Me and Zach talked First Cow last Thursday. What a different conversation that was, but it's still out there for everybody to go out and check. You know what? We had a fun conversation last week, too. Last Monday, we talked about Men, a movie that all three of us had seen for the first time ever. Craig, me and you've seen X today. Ed, this was a first-time watch for you, I believe.
Yep.
So it'll be pretty interesting to listen to that conversation. So, but if you guys want to get a hold of us and you guys want to look and see what kind of giveaways we do, digital copies, physical giveaways, or if you just want to check us out, where to find us on some of the links. Check us out on social media, facebook.com/The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The Instagram is all one word, /The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The Twitter is @Cine-Men405. And then the email, which is the easiest and fastest way to get a hold of us, is CINEMEN921 @gmail.com.
.com.
You know what? And don't think I forget about a girthy 4-year anniversary giveaway. We will have a giveaway next Monday live exclusively on this great YouTube channel, which hit over 1,000 subscribers over the weekend.
Look at that.
So check us out, Imsawa Productions YouTube channel. They have everything, guys, from Fanboys Podcast, Behind the Mask with Mr. Fuentes, Friday the 14th podcast, Diving Deep, a look back at Stranger Things podcast, so Wrestling Tacos podcast.
It's all there. It's all there.
Content every single week, every day. So, but yeah, you guys can also find us on the Prescribed Films Network, www.prescribedfilms.com, #the PFPN. You can find us there along with a great bunch of other podcasts. Me and Edward are going to be going to Iowa, OU Texas weekend, October 7th and 8th. We're going to have our own little booth there, the Cine-Men Movie Podcast booth. Come hang out. Ed's going to be in full makeup, full gear. He's going to look like a Pennywise the Clown. So come tickle Ed. And, there's tons of things you can walk away with for free. So check us out. You got to pay for Edward.
Yes, sir.
You got to be strong to pick up it.
Hey.
You got to be strong to get any of us.
Yeah. But you know what? You know what you guys did go and do this past weekend, last Thursday, honestly, while me and Zach were talking about First Cow. Craig and Edward, you guys were live at Rodeo Cinema. Edward, why don't you go ahead and talk to him about good old Rodeo Cinema?
Man, Rodeo Cinema, I've always liked the atmosphere of Rodeo Cinema. Wait, that's Craig.
Is me. I'm Rodeo Cinema.
Yeah. Craig, let him know about Rodeo Cinema. What'd you guys get to actually go do on Thursday?
Yeah, so we went and checked out. It was a double feature, which we didn't know it was a double feature, but we saw it was Greg Sestero. Presents Miracle Valley and The Room, the 2003 movie hit. But we went. Greg Sestero was there. He had merchandise. He came out. He talked to the people. He had a little Q&A. And we watched one of his newer films. It's called Miracle Valley. He said it was kind of based loosely off of real events. of some cult that kind of he came across. And that's what the movie was about. If you want to know more about it, I would suggest going and watching it. It's a witty, funny, not to be taken too seriously kind of horror comedy. And it was a good time. Ed ended up leaving, and I stayed for the showing of The Room. One of the first times that I've ever been a part of a cult showing where they had prop bags with spoons that were used to throw at the screen in the movie, little rubber football to throw at the screen when Tommy Wiseau throws the football. It was an experience that, I was going to kind of be there with everybody, and I was just like, if it's cool, it's cool. If not, I've never seen The Room, which when I say I've never seen The Room, like I thought I had seen it with the Disaster Artist. It's completely different. It's the same, but it's different. He kind of cracked a joke. He was like, if you make it through the first 15 minutes, you're good. And I'm sitting there. I'm like, first 15 minutes can't be that bad.
Oh.
And it was like a softcore, like porno on Showtime. And I was just like, I was not expecting this, but it was funny. People were talking in the crowd, chattering in the crowd, like interacting with the movie. And honestly, it was everything I could have hoped for. When I had heard about like cult-like showings for films, it was everything I could have hoped for.
So you know what, Craig? I don't want you to give a star rating, but would it be worth us seeing The Room and eventually like talking about it one day on mic? Or are you like, what? I never want to experience that again.
No, I would not mind going and seeing that movie again in that environment.
Okay. So I want to go ahead and point this out. I didn't actually get to stay and watch The Room. 4:30 in the morning comes late or early. Sorry. So what he means by cult viewing is there's several traditions that go along with this movie.
It's gained a cult following where people will see this movie in the theater during events time and time again because it is just that fun to them. They've grown so akin to it that it's second nature. You meet people and you're like, I met you in Texas. We're going to this showing in Tennessee. Like it's a event. It's not just a movie anymore. It's an event.
Well, I mean, okay, so there was a turnout of like 50, 60 people or more.
It was a lot of people.
As well as like they even had a couple of people, if I'm not mistaken, and you were there for that, come up and read some of the script, right?
Up or down? Yeah, no, yeah, they had two people come up and read part of the movie script with Greg Sestero just right there, and
this was crowd interaction. This was not two paid actors. This was crowd interaction.
Come on, Greg, do it.
There was a guy. He was dressed up in the black getup. He had the wig, and he was like, "Who wants to read for the part for Tommy?" And the guy's just like, he just like he goes off and does this whole like line that Greg doesn't or that Tommy does in the movie, and he's like, "All right, we got our Tommy. Who's going on?" And they had the whole little rules and traditions that people follow during the film. It's like when you see this, and he kind of talked about it. He's like, on set, they wanted to have pictures of other things, to fill her apartment. And Tommy was like, "It's okay. Don't worry about it. Just throw up this picture." And it's just a generic picture of a spoon. And so people throughout the years have gone through the tradition of throwing plastic spoons at the movie screen and just yelling "spoon" every time you see spoon on screen.
San Francisco.
Yeah, and it's like he wanted to set the scene that the movie was in San Francisco, and there's a lot of transition scenes of San Francisco. And so people would say like, "Meanwhile in San Francisco," and there was a guy there where he was like, "You gonna close the door there?" Because they open the door and leave it open for like the entire scene. And it was so much fun to be there and see the interaction. And with the event, I would highly recommend seeing the movie in an event setting. Personal solo viewing, you're not going to enjoy it, in my opinion.
Fair enough on that. Fair enough on that. Because I mean, Miracle Valley wasn't bad at all. It's not your typical like hardcore Hollywood horror flick.
No, he said they filmed it in like
It's
3.5 weeks.
It's cheesiness. It's definitely cheesy and all that good stuff. But I mean, it's definitely watchable for that matter. I think it's definitely watchable. But you gotta go in, like you said earlier. You've got to go in and understand this isn't taking itself too seriously, and
not just that, it wasn't backed by a big production company. I think it was just funded by a couple sponsors. Him and his own camera out on scene with 13 to 40 people on throughout the viewing of the movie, and to be able to go out and do that, big props. He kind of took how Tommy went and did about The Room, kind of learned from some of the other movies that they've done. They did a movie called Best Friends. They've done some other ones. I just think he's taken what he's known over the years, back to a movie that was budgeted very lightly and only by some sponsors, and I think he made a good product with it.
Okay.
Again, guys, if you want to check out any of those events like Rodeo Cinema has, they're having concerts, they're having orchestras, live movie interactions like they just went and seen at the room. Go check out Rodeo Cinema, 2221 Exchange Avenue. And, they have all different kinds of events. You can go check them out also at www.rodeocinema.org, I believe, or .com. But go check them out, man. It's like,
I'll be the first to say this. They do another showing of The Room where it's interactive like that, and I'm there.
I think they do The Room once.
It was that enjoyable.
I think they've done The Room like at least once a year since they've been sponsoring the podcast here. So
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah. But now, guys, let's get into a little bit of news.
Movie news.
I don't have a lot of stuff that I want to bring up, but I did just want to bring up these two really just spots and see what you guys think about it. So Hocus Pocus 2 is still coming out in just a few weeks, honestly, on Disney Plus. I know a lot of people say it's been a long time coming, but it's like almost 30 years later. Are you guys interested, or is it being on Disney Plus kind of taking away your wants, or are you like, what, I'm glad it's on Disney Plus because I would not pay to go see this in the theater?
No,
I'm interested.
Go ahead.
I was about to say I'm interested. I was a big fan of it when I was a kid. Different Halloween movies such as Hocus Pocus and others. So yeah, no, I'm definitely excited about it. Kind of thought it was BS at first a while back. So it was kind of just like, man, I'm not wanting to, kind of get myself hyped up for it. And then once I actually seen the trailer, I was like, oh, this is real. This is actually happening. So, once I seen that, I was like, okay, now I'm interested. Now I'm for it. So yeah, it kind of took that, but it's just because there's been drops of it for the past couple years that I've noticed at least. So whether it was Disney Plus or even if it does hit theaters, I might actually go pay for it and watch it in the theaters just because kind of
it's just a Disney Plus exclusive.
No. So I'm saying either way for that matter. But yeah, that just kind of makes it even better for me because I already have it there at home. So hey, why not?
Yeah. I mean, I personally wasn't a big fan of this movie. I know a lot of people are. If it was in the theaters, I don't think I would want to go see it because the first one, not just because I'm not a fan of it, but the first one wasn't a movie theater movie. Like it was 7:30, 8:30, 8:30, 7:30 Central on Disney. You had to sit there and wait for it, and it came out right as dinner was going on, or you were finishing up homework. And that's the nostalgia I want to feel when I watch it again. I don't want it to be some big time movie, something with tons of CGI and next level budgeting. I want it to be that same Disney original movie that I saw as a kid, 7:30 at night on a Wednesday, eating dinner with some family. That's what I want. I want that nostalgia in the movie.
I feel that.
Speaking of streaming, I just found this out like a week ago. I didn't even think it was still happening on streaming because guess what? Pandemic's kind of over. It's the end of the trilogy. It's Halloween Ends is not only in theaters, but it's going to be a day one Peacock exclusive.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you guys doing? This movie has the recipe to make so much money, but now it's like, oh, you know what? I don't really have to go to the movies anymore. I can just watch it at home.
And see, that's
he's ready for Hocus Pocus 2.
Top Gun 2 is still making money in the theaters. People are over the pandemic. People who were for the pandemic and on the other side of the fence when it came to the whole COVID vaccine issues, even they are coming over here and they're like, all right, we're done. If you're getting sick, you're getting sick.
But I mean, is Halloween Ends going to have the same prowess as, 30 some odd years later with Top Gun Maverick, for that matter?
It probably won't, but people are still going to sit there and say, okay, it is Halloween Ends. It's not necessarily this, I just think it's the movie that's ending it all. And you're putting it on streaming.
Possibly ending it all. Because, don't get me wrong, when's the last time you remember a decade, 5 years, without a Halloween? You know what I mean?
But you can't continuously... Last movie with the same original people. This is probably going to be Jamie Lee Curtis's last Halloween. I'll put it that way.
More than likely on that, yeah.
The fact is that it's ending their story. This started in 2018. It's ending this year. It's ending the story of Michael Myers and Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie. So whether it's the end or not, this is the final say in their story. So I don't know. I just feel like them announcing that it's also going to be on Peacock now, it just took away a little bit of nostalgia.
It takes it down a notch.
Because now you're like, oh, guess what? I don't have to go see this in the movie theater. I can watch it on Peacock. Fair. So, but yeah, a little bit of a letdown to me. I'm still personally going to go check it out in the movie theater just because I want to see it on the big screen. I want to hear that music one last time, with hopefully a crowd full of people. So,
and don't get me wrong, there's going to be a ton of people just like you, just like me, just probably like Craig as well. I'm sure you want to go see it in the theater. That will want to, but then there are going to be some of those that do want it in the comfort of their own home. And
it's not just that. It's the fact that if I get to that day where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go see Halloween, and then I just get that feeling where I'm like, you know what, I just don't really feel like going out. I'm just going to watch it at home, and then by that point, you get a million people doing that. You know what I'm saying? That's a lot of money.
That is a lot of money.
Potential.
Yep. But speaking of staying home and watching things, Ed, you can also let them know where do we get our girthiness of physical media?
From CDR Electronics, the best place in the world to buy or sell your iPhone or Samsung phones, games, gaming consoles, and movies. They pay the most and are legitimately awesome. You will love their store, their prices, their selection, and their service. Come on in and say what's up to them. They're located at 1604 West Interstate, I-240 Service Road in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And they give the best prices. It's simple as that. Go ahead and trade in your consoles, trade in your games. Doesn't matter. They'll take it. They are great people. That's why we partner with them. So, that's
they are one of the few. They're one of the few standing electronic places that really hold good inventory. You know what I mean? There's some pawn shops around here that you don't know what you're going to get when you walk out of there. CDR double checks everything they get when they bring it in, and you're guaranteed a decent product when you leave it out the door.
Oh yeah.
Now, guys, let's get ready to get into some recent watches or recommendations throughout the week. I'll kind of start off. It's been kind of a slow week for me, but I kind of tried to pick it up at the end of the week. After last week's episode, I checked out Countdown for a recent episode of Friday the 14th podcast. Unfortunately, some things had to happen. I watched the movie, but I could not join Mr. Fuentes and the bad guy. You know what? Honestly, I thought Countdown was going to be kind of a bad watch, but I actually kind of enjoyed it this time around. If I had to rate it on their system out of a 1 through a 5, I'd probably give it a 2.5 out of 5. Not terrible.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like 2.5 out of 10.
Out of 10, I would probably give it a 6. Still not bad, not terrible.
Not bad, not bad.
I watched the original Orphan for the first time. I thought it was pretty good. I'd give it a 7. Checked out Angel Heart for the first time. Robert De Niro, kind of a horror suspense movie. You know what? I've been listening to the soundtracks for weeks, so it made me want to watch Transformers. So I started from the beginning and watched the first one with Shia LaBeouf, and man, I just forgot how fun that first Transformers movie is. The music, the acting, the action. Michael Bay really gets some flag, but you know what? I just really enjoyed watching that movie. Sometimes it's good to just sit back, not pay attention to a lot of stuff, and just enjoy the movie for what it is.
That original is,
yeah,
and you know, it's a masterpiece.
It made me want to hurry up and watch part 2. So I think I'm going to go through and watch the Transformer movies this week.
Don't forget about Bumblebee.
Yeah, which is technically a prequel.
Yeah,
I think, right?
Technically.
Yeah. And then I checked out X for the episode, and then I watched The Disaster Artist last night. You know, just listen to you guys talk about The Room made me want to watch The Disaster Artist. And you know what? I'm glad I did right before the top 5 movies, A24 movies, because I just forgot how fun and how good Mr. James Franco is in that movie. So yeah, those are my recent watches. If you guys want to follow any of the recent watches that I put up, you can follow the Instagram page, Instagram/the Cine-Men movie podcast. There you can find all kinds of physical media posts for myself. Edward, we'll start with you. Did you get to check anything out this week?
So not too much for that matter. Basically, Miracle Valley, of course, that was one of them that I got to check out, as well as X. Got to check that one out.
Oh, hold on. Ed, this goes into your probably as well. I checked out episode 2 of She-Hulk.
Yes.
You know what? For some reason, I keep going back, and you know, I was like, you know what? Craig's right. I'm gonna enjoy probably just the first episode, maybe, and then it's gonna be crap, dude. I enjoyed the second episode. I don't know what it is. I think it's just because I'm just sitting there. I'm pooped because of how horrible the week has been, how long the week has been. But you know what? Episode number 2, I kind of enjoyed it.
Honestly, I will align with you because I went back. I watched 2 with you at first, and I was just like, "What's going?" You know. And then I went back and watched episode 1 and into 2 to just see that. And dude, like,
even though the CGI is bad, it's funny.
And I like how they introduce her for that matter. I do like that part of it for sure. Her story, I like her confliction for that matter, if you will, as well as just like she's not the one who wants to be the superhero, but she's just like, should I have just done that and been cool with myself?
And see,
no, you know, kind of thing.
Ed, maybe it's just me, but all these other Marvel superhero shows are making it seem like, oh, this is must see, you know. Loki, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they're pushing these heroes like they're top-notch Avengers, right? But the thing I like about She-Hulk, it's not making you feel like she's important. She's just Bruce Banner's cousin who was in an accident, and now she's a funny character.
Which one thing
she has charisma.
Yeah, and I mean, don't get me wrong, her and Mark Ruffalo's like chemistry is very good. Yeah, it's very good. I definitely would love to have him in there more for that matter with her. As far as like the rest of it goes, the only thing that kind of annoyed me a little bit, this mug, was just kind of how she just knew what to, you know what I mean? Like, just knew what to do. You know, that's the only thing that kind of annoyed me, but at the same time, like,
but it explains that.
Yeah, you know, and I mean, you know, different maturity levels for that matter. You know, he's been dealing with it for 15 years. So you've got to imagine maybe he's 3 to 5 years older than she is, different maturity levels. And I'm like, okay, kind of fine with that. Let's go from there.
And in episode 2, you get a cameo from Thou Who Shall Not Be Named.
Not yet.
Say it.
Not yet.
I don't care.
Spoiler alert, if you guys haven't seen episode 2 of She-Hulk yet.
Take off headphones for like 30 seconds.
You get Tim Roth in there from the first Incredible Hulk. Abomination is in there. And I'm just excited to see kind of where it leads. And I'm glad it's making it feel like it's not must-see. So therefore, I don't feel obligated to watch it. So therefore, I feel like there's no pressure. And I feel like this story is not leading into a movie. So I'm like, oh, yeah, this is fun. I feel like I don't have to see it in order to watch.
It's not
Black Panther 2.
Not work.
Exactly.
And I mean, on top of that, it still is intertwining itself, because I mean, they're dropping names, they're dropping, events that have happened, they're talking about different things, and I mean, it's likable.
Like in episode 1, Bruce Banner's like, "Oh yeah, me and Tony Stark built this bar together."
Or
but then he was like, "Oh well, Tony mostly drank, and I built the bar." So it's funny.
Is Captain America, did he die a virgin? And he's like, seriously? And she's like, well, he was busy. He did this, that. And she's like, well,
say hi.
I need to get over
So Ed, I'm sorry, I kind of just bumped right into your recent watches. But other than She-Hulk, what else did you check out?
Not too much. I didn't get to go and watch the rest of Miss Marvel because I popped in when you were watching some of Miss Marvel, either episode 5 or episode 6, one of the two.
That was good too.
But that one, I don't know much about Pakistani culture. I don't know much about Miss Marvel comics for that matter either.
I don't think, but you don't need to.
Well, no, I was about to say, but that made me interested. To try it at least and see kind of where I want to go with it, at least if I want to watch it, if I don't, if I kind of want to dabble here and there. But like they did okay with like She-Hulk, I think they did that character very well, and I'm kind of ready to see where she goes. With Miss Marvel, I want to go back to the first episode and kind of get where they're going with her at first, because I know where, like I said, that 5th or 6th, one of those 2 episodes is. And I mean, it was good, but I just want to see where it gone and where it is at. You know what I mean? And kind of get my thoughts for that.
Where it is though is at. What about? Would you recommend anything to any of the listeners?
Honestly, give She-Hulk a try. Give it a try at least.
Johnny.
And then Miracle Valley definitely is not a bad one. Give it a try. It's not going to be the best, bang for your buck movie out there, but at the same time, it kind of gives me those campy vibes in a ways.
I also checked out the Black Phone, which the Black Phone is going to be an episode in 2 weeks. So if you haven't seen the Black Phone, I would recommend that. It's on the Peacock. So
hey, Peacock's always a great one.
Yeah.
Hello.
Have you seen the Black Phone, Adley?
Yes.
You have?
Tell them what your recent watches are. What have you recently watched?
What have you recently watched?
I watched the last new zombie movie, and it had aliens inside.
A zombie movie?
And what video games have you played?
Sonic and the Fox and SpongeBob.
Nice.
Sonic and the Fox.
Okay, say bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, she checked out Zombies 1, 2, and 3 on Disney Plus, and she's been playing SpongeBob, Crash Bandicoot, and Sonic.
Nice.
So, recent watches for me.
Edward doesn't play Sonic; he eats Sonic.
Shameless plug.
Man, look, it's been a long time since the Sega days when I played Sonic, man. Seriously.
What about you, Craig? You check anything out?
So I checked out Miracle Valley with Ed. Stayed for the room, like I said. I watched The Disaster Artist, same as, I think maybe you watched it because of I posted it. But
oh, yeah, for sure.
I agree with you. It's just, it's funny to see kind of the backstory, but it's also like just that funny Seth Rogen, James Franco twist with it.
Yeah.
And Dave Franco playing Greg after seeing the movie, it was hysterical to me because like he kind of has the fake beard, looking like Greg in the movie and Mark. It's funny, and then you recommended it.
So what did you before you bring that up? What did you think about seeing Greg in person? Do you think Dave Franco did a pretty good job?
I think it was meant to be funny.
Meant to be funny.
I think Dave was just there because it was James' brother, and then the beard and everything. He wasn't like to a T, Dave or Greg Sestero, but it was funny because it was the chemistry was there between him and James. And then I checked out. You recommended it. I checked out Good Times.
Let me hear it. Good time. You want your ass kicked now or later?
Like. I mean, yes, Robert Pattinson was good, but when you break it all down, it's like
he's trying to earn an insane amount of money.
He robs the bank, his brother gets caught, and then the rest of the movie, he's trying to get his brother out of jail, and it's just like he starts here. He goes through this giant circle and he ends up here just going to jail. And I was like, damn, it kind of seems like it was a fun movie, but it just kind of seemed like a waste. And then I was watching something else that was A24 related. And the guy that played his brother was in that movie.
Oh,
he was in The Disaster Artist.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's one thing I love. A24 has its actors and it knows who it wants, and they repeatedly use these actors, and whether it's the budget for them is attainable for these movies or they like the way they act, they're getting the people that they know fits their genre and fits the movie style that they're going for, and they go with it, and I think it really works out for them.
Yeah.
But that's my list, and then obviously as much football as I could consume over the weekend.
Oof. This weekend, it all starts college football kicks off Thursday, right?
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and then you got
the NFL next Thursday.
Then the ball starts rolling.
Speaking of balls, this episode is also brought to you by OKC Soda Company, the craft soda company of Oklahoma, with super unique flavors like strawberry shortcake, blueberry acai. Also check out the new watermelon and the new lemonade. Pure cane sugar with all natural flavors. Visit them at okcsodacompany.com, or you can also pick up a 6-pack in your local Crest stores, Pruitt Foods. So yeah, check them out. OKC Soda Company.
One last thing. I checked out episode 2 of House of Dragon.
Oh, yeah.
Somebody in my family said it's kind of slow. The actors aren't what they were with Game of Thrones. I think it's just taking time. You got to get acclimated to these new people in these roles. There's nobody from Game of Thrones in there that just names, like I said last week. I think it's building towards something that's going to be freaking awesome. I wasn't a huge Game of Thrones guy. I did watch it. I binged a lot of it years after it had initially started. I kind of binged it before season 8, but I think it's building towards something that's going to be truly must-see TV. So nice. I would get caught up on that if you haven't checked it out.
House of Dragons is on HBO Max, right?
Correct.
Go HBO Max it up. But now, Edward has some interesting truth facts about X.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth! You can't handle the truth!
Ed, let us know 4 interesting facts about X.
So, one thing you might not know about one of the actresses, for that matter, Mia Goth, she's pulling double duty here. If you don't know, she plays Maxine and Pearl. Who's Maxine? Maxine is kind of the main girl, or the poster. No.
Right. We'll get into who they are later. You're just letting us know some facts about the movie.
Second, they're actually releasing another movie about Pearl that was filmed back to back, for that matter. So later on, says this year we'll
Comes
get a
out
movie
September
called Pearl.
16th. We are going to talk about it next month, September 19th.
So there is that. So it'll be soon. So a lot of the deaths are foreshadowed in ways, just kind of leading on to how they will happen. Not all of them, just about, if I'm not mistaken, three. Three are all I found that were foreshadowed. And then basically the last one, the there is a character that is kind of an unknown character that is on the side of a milk carton that one of the characters takes a drink out of. The thing is milk cartons weren't used for that until 1984. This is set in 1979. So, kind of a funny little fact there, but yeah.
That's a good one, Ed. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Don't forget, guys, this episode and the top 5, which we're getting ready to get into, is brought to you by Red and Blues Pizza. Order now at 405-602-2838, or you can visit them in store at 4500 South May Avenue, right here in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. That's 4500 South May Avenue. They're open Sunday to Saturday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., Sunday, 11 a.m. to 10 p.m. But check them out. They have all kinds of pizzas. They have combo deals. If you're not a pizza fan, they do have gyros, sandwiches, cheeseburgers now, burgers, wings, and cinnamon sticks. So don't forget, also let them know that the Cine-Men Movie Podcast sent you, and get a little coupon there for your buck. So Red and Blues Pizza, it's the only pizza pie of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. And don't forget to let Myra know that the Cine-Men Movie Podcast sent you. It is the best sponsor for our top 5. And speaking of top 5, that's what we're getting ready to get into right now. All right, guys, all of our top 5s this month have been A24 themed, so why not end the month with our top 5 favorite A24 movies? We've been getting a lot of emails and comments and Instagram stories about, hey, when are you going to rank your top 5 A24 movies? So that's what we are doing here today. Anybody have any honorable mentions they want to run through?
Just one.
Ed, we'll start with you.
I'm going to go ahead and list 8th Grade here.
Okay.
Thought it was a beautiful film. It is honestly a great story, and I didn't really expect it from Bo Burnham like that. So yeah, I'm excited for whatever he chooses to do next.
Craig?
Yeah, I got 3. Good Times, Everything Everywhere All at Once. I settled down off my kind of hate for that movie since I haven't watched it in a while. And then I know it's not a movie, but it is a TV series, Euphoria. I think it perfectly hits some of the struggles that teenagers go through. I think some of it might be a little over the top, but Zendaya knocks it out of the park in that.
I like that. I'm going to rapid fire through mine. Ghost Story, Good Time, Waves, and I'm going to go ahead and put Marcel the Shell and Bodies, Bodies, Bodies in there as honorable mention. So
I'm in the house bored.
Number 5. Number 5 for me, I'll go ahead and kick us off. And, it's a movie that I've talked about on not only this podcast, but I've also talked about it on Friday the 14th. I'm going to call upon The Witch from 2015. This movie is just so much fun. whether it comes from the costumes or the dialogue, them talking like they're actually in the 1630s New England folktale language. But it's just creepy. It's eerie. Something about children getting hurt, stolen, or killed just always puts a little unsettling feeling in your stomach, and that's what The Witch does. And you know what? The Witch is actually one of the first three movies that introduced me to A24. I think it was Spectacular Now, uh, Spring Breakers, and The Witch. So, it hits a special place for me. But that's my number 5 all time favorite A24 movie, is The Witch. Craig, we'll start with you, or we'll go with you. What's number 5 for you?
Number 5 for me is going to be Son of a Gun. I talked about it last week or a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Ewan McGregor, Brenton Whiteys, Alicia Vikander, Jason Coleman, and then just kind of goes on from there. It's not a role that I normally know Ewan McGregor for, but man, does he deliver. He's just this rough, scruffy guy that's been in prison, and he takes his son, who, he's kind of following the same path, and he really just uses his son wanting to be with him against him, and it's a good story, and I would highly recommend it.
Nice. Number 5 for you, Ed?
Number 5 for me, I'm going to go ahead and put The Killing of a Sacred Deer here. Definitely liked it. The story was decent. It's kind of cool just to see how it unravels, for that matter. That's definitely one of the bigger things with A24's usual going. The story is always spot on, very good. May not be what you like, but it's always pretty good. So yeah.
Number 4. Number 4 for me is going to be from 2019, The Farewell, starring Aquafina, directed by Lulu Wang. You know what? It's just a really family, home-driven movie about their grandma who is slowly passing away, but I guess because of the culture, they choose not to tell her. They create some family gathering to gather around the grandma one last time, and they just don't have the heart to tell her. But Aquafina's character Billy feels otherwise, and it turns into a family drama. It's funny, it's sad at times. Highly recommended. All these movies that I'm naming off, to me, are 10s. So that's how I based all my favorite A24 movies on. So, number 4 for me is going to be The Farewell from 2019. Craig, what about you?
Number 4 for me is going to be a movie we did probably last year. It Comes at Night, with I think it's Joel Edgerton, Christopher Abbott, Riley Coe, Kelvin Harrison. It's just a spooky, eerie movie that is set where they don't have electricity in the house. It's just I don't remember everything about it, but I just remember like watching it. I was glued to the TV. It was it was haunting almost. And then the premise of the movie was really good. They invite a family into their house, and that family ends up bringing an infection into their house, and they just have to pretty much fight to survive at that point, like they were doing up until then. But highly recommend it.
Edward, number 4 for you?
Number 4 for me is going to be mid-90s. Definitely found it to be a great little film. It's almost kind of a documentary mixed with like a dramatic. It's kind of a unique-ish film, for that matter, because it documents skateboarding. Honestly, that's really all it documents mainly, is that, and how this young teenage kid is starting to try and deal with life. It features some actual skaters, Nicole Smith and Nolan Prinett. It goes for a lot of different things. Sonny Soljic is the star, as Stevie, and I mean, like I said, it's kind of that got that grit at times of the '90s, and all that, the skate wave that kind of hit back then. But at the same time, like, Jonah Hill surprised me with this. It's kind of a little weird to see him go with a skate film, you know. Yeah, so yeah, I thought that was awesome. When I first seen it, I was blown away and loved it.
Number three?
Free.
Number three for me is going to be a movie that I talked about I think it was last week or a few weeks ago. It ended up being number one on one of the lists. But number three for me is going to be the documentary about Val Kilmer, called Val. Hour and 49 minutes of just outstanding work from everybody at A24 and Val Kilmer, his family, his son, everybody who had just a touch of this documentary. Again, if you have not seen it, I highly recommend it. Go check it out on Amazon Prime. It is worth the entire hour and 45 minutes. You will not be disappointed. You will shed a tear. Go watch Val. That's my number three. Craig?
Number three for me, usually we say, hey, I want to split them at one for 1A, 1B. But they kind of fall on the list right here. Number three for me is going to be a tie between Midsummer and The Disaster Artist. They both have their own flair. Obviously, they're very different, but they very much fit A24, and they are very much good movies for their own reasons. Florence Pugh coming out in Midsummer and doing what she did and just, catapulting her career. It's a movie that I'll never forget, sadly. But it is up there. It's very good. It's well written. The music, the scores, the dialogue, the acting, it's all there. And then The Disaster Artist, we kind of talked about it just a little while ago. I don't know if there's anybody else that could have pulled that off other than James Franco and that crew. So big props to them. And it's a movie that I think does The Room justice. So those are my three.
Ed, number three for you?
Number three for me is The Lighthouse, man. Very weird at times, very strange, but overall, you got to like the dialogue. I loved how they did it in black and white. This is kind of one that opened my eyes with Robert Pattinson, for that matter. Willem Dafoe is an awesome, equal partner, for that matter, in this movie. I don't think you could have brought that out with anyone different, for that matter. Willem Dafoe's kind of got that strange behavior kind of deal with himself. So, I mean, yeah, this whole movie, weird as it may be, it goes all tens for me.
Oh. Number two? Number two, this is where I win. Number two for me is going to be Uncut Gems. Adam Sandler. You can go check it out, stream it on the Peacock. Directed by the Safdie brothers, same guys who did Good Time. You know what? Taking Adam Sandler out of the joint, I think I really do enjoy this movie because of the score, the way it was shot, and just how the entire movie just makes me feel like I have anxiety because of the score. I don't know if it would necessarily work if you put somebody else in there. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, take Adam Sandler out, put somebody else in there. Does it still work? I don't know. But I still like the way it made me feel. What is this guy going to get? What's coming to him, or is he going to finally escape these sharks? He's pawning everything he can get his hands on, even Kevin Garnett's NBA ring. I just like the way it makes you feel. And then the edge of your seat in that playoff game, boom, it just all happens there. So number two for me is Uncut Gems from 2019. Craig, number two for you?
Number two for me is going to be The Lighthouse. You kind of talked about it, Ed. It's the dialogue, it's the black and white, the 4:3, the kind of grainy texture of the film style. The audio is not as you would say, Dolby, or it's not top quality audio because it is trying to be like an older style movie. So
I will say The Lighthouse was phenomenal in the movie theater.
Yeah, no,
It was,
I kind of wish I went and saw it there now. But it was just kind of, I think A20, it was the first movie, second movie. Midsummer was the first. It was the second A24 movie that made me realize, like, okay, A24 is different. Like, this is a different style. It's not going to be just your run of the mill, cut it up, throw it in a movie theater, kind of cookie cutter movies. These are different, and that's what I love about it. It's something that you don't see very much of nowadays with the black and white and all the stuff I had mentioned prior, and the two that are on screen demand the screen, and I think that's the best thing about it.
Yeah.
Nice. Edward, number 2 for you.
Number 2 for me is going to go ahead and be How to Talk to Girls at Parties. This probably gets swept under the rug. It probably won't be mentioned much at all other than my weird self. But, I really actually like this one. The whole story is just kind of a chaotic, strange in chaos epitome, I guess. And it's kind of a love story in a very strange way. I know I'm using strange a lot, don't get me wrong, but like those are the ones that I guess I like the most. And yeah, the whole movie is definitely not going to grab everybody. It's not. I'm going to admit that, and I know that first off. But what does grab you will grab, different heartstrings, different thoughts in your mental, for that matter. So, I gave it a chance, and I ended up loving it. So, yeah, I've watched it like 4 or 5 times now.
Number 1.
One.
All right, this is it, guys. Your number 1 favorite all-time A24 movie. Number one for me is gonna be Split. I'm gonna give it a tie. Number 1B is gonna be Midsummer. Number 1A is gonna be Moonlight. Two very, very different films, and just one is simply the horror and the perfection of a horror movie through A24. The other one is going to be like, you know what? A24 can tell a pretty damn good story and have some incredible acting in it as well. So 2 different movies. Moonlight, phenomenal, 10 stars. I could watch it any day of the week. Great performances. It's about a guy named Little who is, going through no father, mom's in and out of crack whorehouses probably, and you follow him from age 7 all the way until maybe 32, and it's just phenomenal. And then Midsummer is Midsummer. Highly recommend it. Go check it out. Those are my top 2 favorite A24 movies: Midsummer and Moonlight. Craig, number 1.
No surprise here. I talk about it every time we talk A24. That's going to be Ex Machina, Oscar Isaac, Alicia Vikander. Something about that movie just hits me every time I think about it and every time I watch it. It is truly. You think it's going to be just this movie that is like almost like a feel-good story. Guy gets a break where he's going to work for a big tech, and they're working together to create this perfect robot. And the guy turns on the worker, and the robot turns on all of them. And it's just, man, it's truly like one of, not just A24. I think it's truly one of just the most well-written movies that I can think of. The plot, the dialogue, the music, everything. It's the shots in that movie are tremendous. Even though it's kind of shot in a house, it's the way the cameras capture what's going on. It's perfect to me.
Edward, finish us off. Your number one A24 movie.
Man, I'm kind of following in your footsteps, bud. Splitting it up as well. 1B, The Witch. 1A, Midsummer. Man, Midsummer is like happy horror in a way. If that it wants you to believe it's sunshine and daisies and all that, to where The Witch is dark and dreary and storms all the time, and someone who just wants you to hush, kind of thing. And I mean, the stories on both of them are phenomenal. The acting on both of them are, in my eyes, top tier. Anna Taylor-Joy, Florence Pugh. It's hard to kind of go between those two females as your favorite lead, for that matter. Both of them do extremely good jobs. Their surrounding cast, I felt, did a great job. Kids in The Witch, and then Will Poulter, Midsommar. I thought he was a standout of that whole cast as well. Jack Rayner did well. So yeah, there's a ton to love.
I think one of the creepiest things about Midsummer is, like, we the viewers and the outsiders consider everything that they're doing there horror,
Right?
But that is their everyday lives there. Like, that's the creepiest part about that movie, I think.
Nice.
And not only that, but the friend, the college transfer kid brings them there, and it's just like, yeah, you'll love it, and he doesn't warn them to not do certain stuff, it just boom, is what it is.
All right, guys.
That is not the type of cult that we're talking about with Viewing the Room. Like, that's a completely different type of cult following.
We hope so.
Yeah.
All right, guys. If you want to let us know your top 5 A24 movies, some of you already have. Let us know at cinemen921@gmail.com, and we'll read them over the email bag like we do at the end of every episode. Again, top 5 A24 movies. There is one more A24 episode to be named. Wednesday, me and the bad guy Nick are going to talk about Tusk on Friday the 14th UHD, which is another A24 horror movie. So don't forget to check us out this Wednesday, August the 31st. We talk about Tusks, directed by Kevin Smith. But guys, let's get into today's episode. Today we are talking about X. In 1979, a group of Texas young filmmakers set out to make an adult film in rural Texas, but when their reclusive elderly hosts catch them in the act, the cast find themselves fighting for their lives. Starring Mia Goth, Jenna Ortega, Brittany Snow, Kid Cudi, Martin Henderson, Owen Campbell, Stephen Ure, directed and written by Ty West. IMDb currently has it at 6.6. Rotten Tomatoes is at 94%. The Metascore is 79%. And the Google users have it at 62%. With a budget of only $1 million, this movie grossed about $14.5 million at the box office with a March 18th, 2022 release date. We'll talk about Ty West for just a little bit as we do our director, our director talk. Ty West really kind of got started doing a mini short film for the ABCs of Death. Other than that, really, as a director, he's directed like some TV shows, The Passage, Chambers, Scream the TV series. He had the short movie on ABCs of Death. He directed VHS, The Innkeepers, Cabin Fever Part 2. But really his big break is X. And now he's going to direct Pearl, which comes out next month, which is the prequel to X. So guys, let's dig into it. First time versus what it was like visiting it for this podcast. Craig, we'll start with you since we're the only two that have seen it twice out of the three of us. What was it like? When the movie was over, and then kind of what was it like revisiting it for the episode?
When the movie was over, I was just kind of like shit's wild. Just kind of the premise of why they're there is kind of crazy from the get go. But then everything that happens, you're just like, man, it goes 0 to 100 real quick in this movie. So that's just kind of what my initial thought was at the end. But watching it again, I was just kind of like it's I wouldn't say this will be remembered down the line along the lines of like Friday the 13th or Halloween or anything like that, where it's like a horror thriller kind of slasher, but I think it'll definitely hold its own.
Oh yeah, for sure. I get to see this in the theater, in an empty theater. Nobody else was in the same room with me, so it was kind of creepy. But you know what? It kept me like intrigued and interested throughout the entire thing. In the movie theater, it completely just went super, super quick. Um, Watching it for the podcast, I appreciated a lot more things the second and third time around. This is actually the third time I've seen the movie. So, um, you know what? As it's not a 10 for me, and I know that's kind of spoiler territory, I still think it's a fun horror movie, and I think it's going to be a good thing to talk about it. Um, and it's kind of just a little preview of what we have for everybody, in September and October with us getting back into talking about some spooky movies. So Ed, this was the first time view for you, so you don't get to compare and contrast. But as soon as the movie was over, in a simple word or two, what were your words?
Toby Hooper-esque, or Toby Hooper. It was very like, oh wow, why am I losing this? Oh my god.
Stanley Kubrick?
No, Stanley Kubrick. I mean, but no, it just reminded me a lot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Just yeah, it's a little crazy. Maybe not that far, but for certain reasons.
Well, let's dig into it, guys. You get to meet up with the cast real soon. Spoiler heavy, so if you guys haven't seen the movie, go check it out. We're talking about X. It sets up the murders right away. You get to meet the entire crew of the adult film that they're making. You get to meet the director and the producer, the guy who's putting the movie together, Wayne. You get to meet the main performer, Jackson, and Bobby Lynn. You get to meet the sound tech, or the sound. She's holding the sound microphone as Lorraine. You get to meet technically the camera guy, the cinematographer, RJ, and then Maxine is essentially the girlfriend of Wayne. She's also in the movie as well. So yeah, you know what? It does have that Texas Chainsaw Massacre feeling. It also doesn't help that it's summertime in Texas, and they're looking for a big, old, distinct, empty house to go and shoot their pornography film in. So it sets up everything really, really quick. What do you guys think about when they get to the house? You meet the old guy, Howard, who just looks super, super grotesque. He's just an old, nasty looking guy. And right off the bat, I have to say I appreciate this movie because, enter keyword, the makeup, all the practical effects. And you see the practical effects when they're driving and they see the dead cow right there in the middle of the highway first.
Oh yeah,
and you're like, geez, what's going on here? But what do you guys think of Howard meeting the old guy who takes him to the little room or the little barn house that they're going to be using for the movie? You think his makeup was too overdone? Do you like the way he looked?
I don't know about but he definitely did look, pretty good. And I mean, they even kind of, God, look how ugly this is. And I mean, I think it was done just well. I think
it looks like Terry Bradshaw.
Yeah. Dang. Whew. Wow. Dang.
I'm just playing. I was just saying because he's bald and he's got the white.
Yeah.
One of the big X factors or wild cards that were in this movie for me, and I didn't know what to think when I saw his name on the marquee, was Kid Cudi. I was like, what is Kid Cudi doing in an A24 movie? I want to look at the cast. I want to point out the cast members. I'm very interested. Brittany Snow, you guys know her really from Pitch Perfect, Hairspray, Prom Night. She's really in the movies that she's in. She plays kind of a goody two shoe in a lot of the movies that she's in. So when I saw that she was in this movie, and then when I found out she's literally bearing it all in this movie, I'm like, whoa, what did she sign up to do? Is she desperate? And then you find out that all these people were just so ready and so hyped to work for Ty West and be in this movie. One of his questions when he was doing the casting was, why do you want to be in a movie about 70s porn? And just having this being his very first big time movie and them just wanting to work for him, dude, that says a lot about this director and what he can possibly do in the future. Jenna Ortega, I'm going to bring it up a little bit later, but she's somebody who just sneaks up to you in the movie and you really don't get a good vibe of what she's there to do until a little bit later on. But Craig, what do you think about, Kid Cudi, Brittany Snow? You get the convenience store scene where, he's filling up the van and he's like, hey, you should do this. How do you feel about the movie being based about 70s porn?
I mean, I think it just really sets the tone. I mean, because you're getting the movie itself in 1080p, 4K HD, whatever. But when you kind of have the inside the lens of the camera, you're really set back to the time of that time and date. And I think it's almost it's kind of funny to see it set in that time period. Because if you were to do it now, where you're like, oh, we're making content for, the sites today, right, it would be kind of like, okay, that's cheesy. But I think just setting it back in this time of day where you don't have cell phones, where you don't have landlines, where when you go to this isolated house, you are isolated. I think that's really just the best thing about it is setting the tone for the movie.
Yeah. And not only does it set the tone, but it also just makes you start with that uncomfortable feeling.
Yeah.
We have to talk about it. What did you think of, like, not only the first, the second, the third? Do you think the sex scenes, do you think it had to show as much as it did? Or are you like, you know what? I think you could be saved without seeing a lot of the stuff.
I think
it had to be seen.
Maybe setting up once to where it, and then everything else is kind of like it starts but then cuts to something else. I think you could have gotten away with that. But
because really there's only two lengthy ones, and that's the first one with Brittany Snow where she turns around and wipes the stuff off her back, and then the second one is the one where Mia Goth is in the barn house with Jackson. So those are really the two lengthy ones.
I mean, I guess it sets the precedence that they're all there to be a part of it. But again, I think maybe you show the first one and then you kind of show the initial start of the second one and then you cut to something else.
So I put the premise, I was sitting in the movie theater, empty theater. So I felt a little uncomfortable, even though I was by myself. I was like, I don't think they need to be this long.
Little Pee Wee Herman-esque.
Little Pee Wee Herman-esque. But the second and third time, I'm like, you know what? The first one sets up. I like the way the first one sets up, because not only do you see, you see Brittany Snow and them working, I guess, if you will, but
we'll call it that, working.
Yeah, working. But the thing I noticed is I started looking at the different characters while they were having their working scenes. And I started looking at Jenna Ortega, and I'm like, you know what? She is looking at this for the wrong reasons, but what is her real intentions? You don't really catch that watching it the first time, but the second and third time, I'm like, okay, could she potentially be somebody who might be fed up and she could go nuts? Obviously, she doesn't. But
Yeah.
watching it the second and third time around, you're like, okay, Jenna Ortega's character, Lorraine, it focused on. I watched her the second time around, especially whenever Brittany Snow's character throws the working rag over towards her, almost like, hey, you need to pick this up. I'm like, you know, thinking outside the box. She's
Like she could
disrespecting her.
flip. Yeah.
Yeah, she could flip, you know. But then that led to Maxine going out and, you know, testing the waters, literally going in the lake and kind of wasting some time. So I saw how that set up that scene with the crocodile or the alligator. I don't know, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know which one's
We
which
not from
it is.
down south.
Yeah. So, and then it made me think, you know, when I was first watching the movie first time around, uh, is this a Lake Placid kind of movie? Does the alligator have a bigger part in the movie than we might think? Is this a beast movie?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. When you first see Maxine just out there in the water, and it kind of shows the alligator's eye over off on the side, you're like,
Yeah.
okay, you know that the water's dangerous. But then when she starts swimming back, and the alligator's kind of following her, and you get that aerial view,
Yeah.
I was like, okay, maybe the alligator is kind of what start. It maybe it may not be the whole killer, but it probably kicks things off. And I thought, because it shows her kind of sitting there chilling and the alligator's getting close, and you think that she's going to get it. Obviously, she gets out quick enough, but that shot of her being chased by the alligator, even though the alligator's not chasing her, he's just kind of taking his time and going through it. Yeah, I think it sets up the premise that something's going to happen with him later. But man, it was just kind of like the tension rose when you saw him kind of following her.
Oh yeah, and then you get the first look of Pearl, the older lady who's starting to stalk Maxine.
Yeah.
And then the second working scene, when Maxine is in the bar working with Jackson, you get another inside look of Pearl stalking Maxine. Maxine going in and having the lemonade with Pearl. What'd you think of that scene where Pearl just kind of creeps you out right there?
Well, she kind of sits there and tells her, like, my husband's not going to be happy that you're in here. And, like, it kind of sets the precedence that the husband's really there for everything. But really, as we see in the movie, it's the lady. She's kind of the one that is behind the wheel and is kind of like, yes, the old man is there, but like she takes it to another level when it gets to that point.
Yeah.
So, after you get the Maxine and the Pearl dialogue, which I thought was very good dialogue, you kind of get Pearl explaining why she can't, or how she used to be the certain way that she was. But really, Craig, like I mentioned, you get the scene of Jenna Ortega's character, Lorraine. She's watching and she's looking at the working scene of Brittany Snow's character. Bobby and Jackson are going at it, and she just has that look about her. So, and then the same thing, she has the same look in the barn. So, 40 minutes in, I guess, really is when things start hitting the fan, as you end up getting the sun goes down, and they're all kind of sitting around the table. Lorraine pops up with the conversation about she wants to do a scene in the movie. But before that, you get the Getting Older song being played, and Jackson, I believe, is playing the guitar while Bobby is singing the song Getting Older. It's not a touching moment, but it really does have that grace of, you're watching the younger people in this scene, and then you keep going back to the older folks of Pearl and her husband in the scene about the song Getting Older. So it may not hit you in the feels, but it definitely does have some good story behind it. What did you guys think of the little song and the just the scenes going back and forth?
Truthfully, I thought it was cool, especially with Brittany Snow singing it, as well as Kid Cudi playing the guitar. with his musical talent as well as her, past in some films, Pitch Perfect, I thought that was cool. So, she gets to show off her chops on singing for that matter. And, he gets to show possibly that he can play guitar. So that's pretty cool. And the rendition I thought was very nice because it wasn't a necessarily a traditional rendition of it, I guess. But, it was kind of a suspenseful rendition, if you will, on that. And he played a lot of the major chords, so I mean it was more of a happy upbeat kind of thing, but at the same time it was eerie just because of how much suspenseful it was. So I mean, yeah, it goes into a lot of good stuff music theory wise.
Storytelling wise, and looking at both of the characters, Craig, what did you think of the you know could you have done without the music in the movie, or were you like, no, I think it kind of hit just right?
No, I think it. I think it just it fits. I don't think it's it could have been done with. It can be done without, but I do think having it in there fits and kind of makes that scene to where you're kind of just and getting the two point of views about the young people are there and living their life while the other two people are in isolation in their old cabin, and you kind of get the feeling that they're not on the greatest of terms as a couple. So I think it just kind of sets the precedence of like, this is why they're in the cabin doing what they're doing, because they are young and you do get old. And I don't know. I think it's just kind of like along that.
So with this movie being 40 minutes in and you don't really get any true horror killing scenes in the movie, I think this movie does fantastic about the first 40 minutes, leaving it to the suspenseful mind about, hey, this is a horror movie, but we're just going to be eerily creepy, if I can use those words, for the first 40 minutes. You're not going to see any deaths. You're just going to get the suspense of some scenes, maybe some scare jumps of Pearl just kind of hanging out in the wings. And then you really get a classic feeling score from the composer throughout the entire first 45 minutes. And it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't really start getting eerily creepy until the sun goes down, and you get Lorraine saying that she wants to be a part of the movie, and her boyfriend, I guess, RJ, is like, he's done. He's going to quit. He doesn't want her to be any part of it. The director steps up and was like, "Hey, boy, do you want her to, live her life through this one scene?
Executive producer.
Or do you want her to completely, like,
You want her to despise you for it?
Yeah, she'll despise you for it and go out and get the train in like 2-3 years, whether you have the say so or not." So I don't know.
That made me a little. I was just like, it's just kind of.
Why did it make you feel that way?
Because I'm not that kind to be like. I was like, if you're with me, you're with me, and so I was like, when he was like, "Oh yeah," or when she was like, "Yeah, I want to be a part of this," it's like, I know we're in this business, but I'm just the camera guy. You're just a mic girl. Like we're here, they're there. And
we're crew, we're not cast.
When she decided to go that route, it's just kind of like, damn, I didn't think this is what I didn't think I would be here.
But I mean,
being here.
I'm not saying I blame her, but it's almost like you bring her in the environment. It's almost
Right.
one of those. It's almost one of those you reap what you sow kind of thing. If you didn't want her to even think about it, why bring her in the environment?
Because she was crew, not cast.
So,
I mean, that's a part of it. And I mean, that's kind of the whole.
Do you like the dinosaur?
That's kind of the whole free for all, I guess, back in the 70s. Is that it was
And again,
just whatever,
Yeah, it is in the 70s where everybody was free flowing and it was just kind of at the ready. Nobody was really worried about any of that. It was a different time. So for him to kind of be like that, I can see why the producer was like, just chill, man. Like, and at the same time, if he was like, I want to be in there, I'm sure they would have done something. But It's just yeah. I don't know. For me, it was just
Oh, the
No, I
director,
agree, Craig. I
Yeah.
agree.
the director guy. Yeah.
Because
Um,
you felt for him at that moment, especially with the shower scene coming up next. With him,
I didn't feel for that guy at all. I was like, you know what? And I'm
Yeah.
kind of I'll get into it. Like I'm really glad. Let's get into the first death. Let's get into RJ's death. I'm really glad he got the way he got. He took the shower. He was crying. He was moping because let's face it, Jenna Ortega. Not only does she get in the movie, she gets in the movie. Okay, let's just say it that way.
she was put to work.
She was put to work. Kid Cudi gave her the old homework. Okay. But anyway, at the end of the day, he has the moment in the shower. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna leave him here. I'm leaving." And then Pearl's like, "Dude, you ain't going nowhere." You know what I mean?
I got 2 minutes of playtime.
Oh, and she played with him for 3 minutes.
Yeah, like when she started like caressing him, I was like, oh, okay, like this lady wild.
But you know what?
She needed to be down in the cabin right now. You feel me?
And it's completely shocking because you did not know how she was going to do it. I knew she was going to kill him when I first seen this
Right.
in the theater, but I didn't know how. I didn't know why. And technically, you still kind of don't know why. Hopefully, we'll figure out why in Pearl.
It's
But
because they don't want him to leave.
I think it's more the horror trope that okay, he is literally the only person that you see not doing anything sexually. I mean, you can consider Wayne as
Working.
well.
They're working.
they're working.
Still sexually.
They're working.
Still sexually.
They're working.
So either way, him and Wayne are the only two you see that don't actually have anything done sexually. And basically it's kind of reversing that horror trope, as in the virgin isn't the one to last. The virgin dies first kind of deal. As well as the shower scene was like eerily reminiscent of Psycho.
Well, it doesn't necessarily say he's a virgin.
Well, okay, no, but he's the only one on camera not alluding to that, like trying, kind of thing. He's the one that is strictly there for business, kind of thing. He didn't come here.
The director doesn't get down. The director doesn't get down and dirty. Is he a virgin?
I mean, that's
and
not
he's kind of dating Maxine too, isn't he?
Well,
yeah.
I mean, he says action in the movie, so he can be director as well.
But nonetheless, I mean, he doesn't.
Anyway, let's get back to the first death. RJ's first death. Pearl straight up just chops away his throat.
Well, no, she's just like insert here,
and then here and twist, and then he falls down to the ground. And dude, she just continues to go chop liver on dude's throat. And I don't know about you guys, but even though it was all practical effects, I loved the way it looked. And I know, horror movies, kill scenes, that's what makes a lot of these horror movies. And the kill scene in this movie, at least this first one, RJ's death, phenomenal kill scene. What do you guys think? You think it was too much blood? I loved.
No, I mean,
I loved the song in the background.
Don't Fear the Reaper.
Yeah, I thought it was tremendous.
The lights on the van kind of go red,
yeah,
and it kind of just. And then she starts. What is she doing? Like the yoga, or she's like, I don't know.
She starts
used
dancing.
to be a dancer, basically. So she starts doing the dance, and
because she's happy.
Yeah.
There's alluding to some like dance coven that she used to be a part of, because she looks like a witch. I mean, she really does look
just
like a
because
witch.
she's old.
Well, yes, but that's kind of what I think is going to happen in Pearl. We'll see how that goes.
That's Ed reading some more spoilers.
No.
So I'm pretty interested in, as soon as RJ's death happens, you get Wayne's death. He steps on the nail, and then his death is. Craig, you want to explain his death in this one?
He's like looking through
the little peephole.
The peephole, and gets the old pitchfork. Gets shish kebabbed.
He's one of them that gets kind of a foreshadowed death, because he's like, man, this movie is going to make people's eyes pop out of their skull, and yeah, yeah.
That his death was when I was sitting there, I was like, oh, because you knew it was coming.
I didn't know what the heck had happened to him, like what had happened. Like I thought she had some trap set for him that once he looked, but it was her with the pitchfork, and dude, oof, that was a little brutal.
And then Jenna Ortega gets kind of kidnapped by the older guy, and she is in the little the little lock basement closet thing. And you know what? She turns around. I think it's safe to say, can we call Jenna Ortega the new Scream Queen in some of the horror movies that she's been in, or we can call her the Scream Princess? Like, dude,
maybe Princess for now.
Scream, X, The Babysitters. She has Studio 666. She is slowly starting to become, somebody, and she's going to be in the new Scream that comes out next year. And her scream that she lets out in the movie, wow, phenomenal. I think she's going to be a very, very great person and a very great actress to watch in some up and coming horror movies. So yeah, you think Jenna Ortega's character, Lauren, you think she might be safe, but what did you guys think of when Howard, like, she's trying to unlock the basement door and Howard just chops at her hand, and it just shows her hand getting just completely mangled? That made me want to just that was kind of cringy right there.
Kind of reminded me of Here's Johnny. Just a little shining thrown in there.
No, when her hand got mangled, I was just like, oh shit. Like it was tough to watch. It kind of reminded me, what's the movie that I just saw where the dude's armed? Oh, like House of Dragons. They're kind of just like, they break his arm and they cut it off, and I was just like, oh, that's tough. It's just hard to watch.
And I don't think we've even talked about it yet, but the score to this movie, this just the creepiness and the eerie sounds throughout the entire movie is just really, really good. What'd you guys think of Pearl getting in bed with Maxine? How creepy and just unsettling Pearl getting in the bed was. Like,
it's just like the slow lay into it. She doesn't wake her up, and then she starts caressing her, and I was just like,
not only that, but with blood all over, and that
from RJ,
yeah. Well, I mean, from RJ, from Wayne,
Jackson's death is next as he gets the old gunshot from Howard.
But when he opens the door and he's like, just proud of everything he's got, I was just like, if you got it, man, if you got it.
The old man's like, are you serious?
Oh, he's serious.
But it's funny that he's like, where's everybody at? And they start looking for everybody, and he just kind of leads them on this chase, almost like he's like toying with them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, dude, you don't know what he's done already. So it's like, as the viewer, but he's still kind of in the dark, like, where's everybody at? And so you're like, it's that trope where you're in the theater, you're like, run, bitch, run. He gonna kill you. Yeah.
Did you guys think the alligator would play more of a factor than they did? Because you see him the one time where Maxine is in the water. Craig, we talked about it earlier, but then you see him just the second time around where Pearl throws Bobby into the lake, and the alligator has their way with Bobby. So Bobby's death was pretty cool and pretty gruesome.
Yeah.
But are you guys kind of or did you? I enjoyed the scene with the crocodile in it.
Honestly, it was used, I think, a little underused for that matter. But for what it was used for, I thought it was really good, because during the scene with Maxine, it got your heart pumping a little bit, like, dude, right behind you, and then with Bobby Jane, for that matter, that was that snap. She's in there, calls her bitch, boom, just takes her out, screaming and death roll, and oh man, it was brutal. It
Were you
really
guys
was.
the scene that kind of jumped out at me after Bobby's death? Maxine finds Lorraine, and Lorraine's running through the house and saying everybody's
Oh
crazy,
my
and then
god.
she runs out the front door, and boom, she gets it. Were you guys surprised that Ortega died?
Not once she was like freaking out in the house and started to run off. No, like right then I knew she was gone. So I'm just like, if they're not waiting in front of the door, it's like next to the door or like off in the field or something where she's about to run to the house or something like that. Like it's between there somewhere.
And we didn't talk about this yet, but uh, Pearl and Howard in the bedroom.
Oh my god! Of course you do. Of course you do.
Well, you got to bring it up for story wise because just a few minutes later, Howard has a heart attack, and that's the
Yeah.
entire like
Because
story
he's-
plot. That's the entire plot line of the movie is his heart. He mentions his heart throughout the entire film.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean foreshadowing his own death for that matter.
Yeah, it's just kind of like they talk about being young and how he fantasizes about all these girls and how he doesn't touch her anymore because she's not pretty like the others. And then, he gets it on one last time and that's his way out. It's just like you said, it's foreshadowed that he talks about it the entire time. But it's just like, it's kind of like, of course, that's how the old bastard's going to go out. Gets a stiffy and he's like, ah!
Well, I mean, okay, so what causes him is actually when he goes in, two girls are standing there, and what actually happens right there?
Pearl, Lorraine's dead because he shoots her, and then he just gets overstimulated because they're trying to move the body, and that's how he dies.
Moving
He's
the body, and
he's stressing.
over.
He shot the shotgun, so that right there probably had some effect on him. The actual physical contact with Pearl has some effect on him, and then him bending over and trying to move the body. So Howard has a heart attack, croaks right then and there. And then now it's just down to Maxine and Pearl.
And I love the line, "Help me, he's having a heart attack." And she's like, "I don't give a shit." It's just like, I love that. Because it was just like, you've murdered every one of my friends. You've done all this, and you expect me to care about you when I've tried several times. Y'all have shown how just deliberately y'all hate us.
Yeah.
Screw you. Kind of thing. It was just like, yeah, no, I don't care if he's dying right there. I don't care if you're dying. Screw it. And then, the later on what it shows on TV and what it was saying on TV, the miracle intervention, she shoots the shotgun at Maxine. Pearl shoots the shotgun at Maxine one last time, and Maxine ducks, hits a little bit by some of the shot, but it knocks Pearl back like 12 feet through the door, and it takes her out. It doesn't kill her, but it
puts her on her keister, and then you see Maxine backs the truck up and just runs over Pearl's head. What'd you guys think of
that? Grotesque.
Using your environment, I guess. Like it's all. I'm not going to say all good ones, but it's a typical use of the environment to always get at least one kill. You had the crocodile, you use the car. Might as well use the car in the end.
Oh yeah, old heavy truck and all that. Just pop. Just oof.
What's the line in the Nice Guys? It's like, you like my body, big boy. You know what I'm talking about? The 4-star at the beginning. Like, it's both kind of set in the 70s, so like I kept thinking that in the movie. It's like, how do you like my body, big boy?
And I like that they brought up one of my old favorite movies, They're gonna make more money than it and all that good stuff in the convenience store. But there were several key pieces throughout that kind of foreshadowed and that were just
What'd you
great
guys think
lines.
of the ending TV with almost like the preaching, and you kind of hear the TV word at the beginning, and because at the beginning of the movie you see the sheriff or the police officers going through the
Yeah,
actual
it's
the murder scene.
foreshadowing the ending of the
Right.
movie.
So what'd you guys think of the preaching on the TV? Do you put any of that together? Do you think it might have anything to do with Pearl? Because it did look like it was maybe a lot. I don't know.
I
What
don't
do you
think
think?
it has anything to do with Pearl. I think it just has exactly what it detailed with
It's just
just
adding to
Maxine.
the moment. Yeah.
Well, that even though she's in sin and all that, Maxine is still in divine intervention in some ways. So he's preaching about his daughter being the sinner and cast into hell and all this other stuff, but apparently she's still in favor somehow, because she escapes several different things in those scenes. The buckshot barely gets missed, just grazed on the arm by it. Is the only one to make it out, for that matter. And I mean, maybe she had several different reasons for leaving that church. So I mean, I don't know. We will probably never know on that, but there's a lot of different things that I
Well,
think.
there is a sequel coming out. So Ty West has a prequel coming out next month with Pearl, and then he's going to have a direct sequel that comes out, I think, the year after that. And it's going to be a sequel to X. So it's going to be interesting to see what he's putting out a trilogy, an A24 trilogy. So I think it's going to be fun to see what Pearl does next month, and then what the sequel does next year, or the year after. So
would this be the first A24 like
trilogy,
sequel
yeah.
and prequel and trilogy,
Yeah.
or would it? Okay,
yeah.
I was thinking so, but hey, cool.
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. I'm excited to see where it goes. So yeah, Pearl comes out September 16th. On that Friday, we're going to be talking about it that Monday, September 19th. You guys have a favorite kill? We don't get to talk about them a lot because we don't do that many horror movies, but we're getting into that season. For those of you that haven't seen, our schedule did get released for the entire month of September. So next month, September 5th, is the 4-year anniversary. We're going to talk about Philadelphia. Our year topic is Denzel Washington. So we're talking about a Denzel movie for our 4-year anniversary. And then September 12th kicks off year number 5, and it kicks off horror season. September 12th, we're talking The Black Phone. September 19th, we are going to talk about Pearl, which is going to be in theaters that weekend. And then September 26th, which I can't believe we've never talked about it. September 26th, we're talking From Dusk Till Dawn.
Nice,
so,
man. Love it.
I think it's going to be some fun conversations in the month of September. Horror season kicks off officially in 2 weeks, which is something we haven't done, I think, in like 2 or 3 years. But we're getting back to it. So yeah, do you guys have one favorite kill for X?
Yeah. I'd have to say Bobby Jane's that gator attack was that was perfect.
Craig?
Yeah.
My one favorite.
I have mine on the tip of my tongue. I'm going to say RJ's. RJ was my favorite kill.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say I'll say Pearl with the car just backing straight up. And
Ed, do you have a favorite scene?
Favorite scene? I mean, honestly, the children get older scene that was nice. A little calm down before the storm, a little calm before the storm kind of thing.
The entire time that Maxine is getting stalked by Pearl, I think those are just eerie. And technically, it's like using storytelling to the finest because you don't have any kills up to that point, and you're just using the characters, the storytelling, and the score,
To
and
create. Yeah.
to create your own spooky atmosphere. So I would say anytime Pearl stalks Lorraine is a, or not Lorraine, but Maxine is a favorite scene for me. Craig, what about you?
The working scene. No, I'm just kidding.
That was not.
The overhead view of the gator chasing.
Oh my
Maxine.
god! I was about to say the
No,
overhead. Oh my god!
nice. The gator scene, yeah, dude, and yeah, you
But,
talk about just sitting on the edge of your seat because you're like, man, is this thing going to go in full attack mode? And at the point, if you're watching this for the first time, you're like, is this a gator movie? I know sitting there watching this in the theater, not knowing anything about it really, I'm like, what am I getting myself into? So I like how it teases the gator. Yeah, it's a good
Yeah.
scene.
I just think I think that sets it starts to heighten everything because you see the old lady kind of stalking her, and then you see the gator up at that point, and then you see him actually starting to chase her. So that's my favorite by far.
Yeah.
And some of the wide shots, like when they're pulling up to the very beginning, when the sheriffs are pulling up to the house, the way the cameras are set to what they capture, I think is very good. You know, we talked about that with Midsummer does it very well, where it's like it just the wide shots that they put in these films where it captures and sets the scene do a very good job of setting the scene for the films.
Oh, yeah, the cinematography in this is tremendous. Very, very good. Um, you know what? Star rating. Ed, let's start with you. 1 out of 10. If this is the first time you're seeing or hearing us, we rate our movies 1 out of 10. One being absolutely Power of the Dog, and 10 being Maverick. So let's go for it, Ed. Star rating X.
I'm gonna have to give it a 5. Honestly, it
Oh.
wasn't really my cup of tea that much. There was definitely some scenes that were cool, some scenes that could have lived without. Yeah, that's just my take on it, man.
Harsh. Ed's cup of tea is cold. Craig, what about you?
It is.
Sweet tea. But I'm gonna give it just a little bit higher than that. I think it's solid for what it is. How long is this movie? Hour and 40?
Hour and 40 minutes.
I mean, it's kind of slow up to that point, but once you get that first kill, man, it's a bloodbath, and you know everybody goes pretty quickly. So I do like how it's a story at the beginning. It's you know in a lot of these horror films, it's like immediately you get the first kill, where this one it just kind of shows the foreshadowing of what the ending looks like when the police show up, and then it starts off kind of telling the story about these workers getting to their isolated destination to create a movie. And it does, you know, that's one thing this movie does very well is it not only does the horror aspect well, but it tells a very good, not a very good story, but it tells the story well. So I'm going to give it a 6.5.
I think it tells a brilliant story, and I think if you're a huge Texas Chainsaw Massacre fan, I think you have to be I think you have to enjoy this. I just think the story, if you go back and look at the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from the 70s, that has absolutely no kind of acting, and you're just completely thrown into a butcher of a film. This one I think has some good performances. Jenna Ortega, Mia Goth, you have tremendous actors in there. The pacing I think is fine. The first 40 minutes is a different kind of movie. You know, like I said, I still felt eerie and uncomfortable with Pearl stalking Maxine, and then 42 minutes to 45 minutes you get the first kill, and it just flies by from there. So,
but I do think the story sets up to where you care enough for the actors for their deaths, but you also care enough to want to see them die. I think I think this movie does a very good job of accomplishing both of those.
Yeah, it does a tremendous job, and you're getting all that in just an hour and 40 minutes. You're getting character development. You're feeling about the characters, but then yeah, like you said, at the end of the day, you wouldn't mind seeing all of them die and Pearl getting maybe the last laugh. And this movie works both ways. I'm going to give this movie an 8. A24 is putting out some really good horror movies. This one's not the best, but it's definitely not the worst. And I just like the throwback scenes that you get from all the 70s horror films.
Yeah.
It's not a catch as catch can horror film. And I believe if you're a huge fan of the 70s horror vibes, I think you'll enjoy this one. So I'm going to give this movie an 8. Let us know what you guys think about this movie. Let us know what you would rate this movie. Send us an email or send us a Facebook message, Instagram message, or tweet us. Facebook.com/the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Instagram, one word, the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The Twitter is at Cine-Men405, or email us. Email us. It's the fastest way to get to us. CINEMEN921 at gmail.com. And we'll read it on the segment, the email bag, like we're getting ready to get into today.
The mail's here.
So email us and we will read some of the mail at the end of every episode every Monday. Sarah97 says top 5 A24 movies. Number 5, Midsummer. Number 4, The Witch. Number 3, Lamb. Number 2, Hereditary. Number 1, Ladybird. April says RJ's death is my favorite scene in the film. Such an old school horror vibe. Love this flick. 9 stars. Henry says my top 5 A24 movies. Number 4, number 5, Lamb. Number 4, Everything Everywhere All at Once. Number 3, Waves. Number 2, Uncut Gems. Number 1, Hereditary. Terrence says X was insane. First time watch. I kind of dug it. I think I like it. The kills were cool. 9 stars. Steven says First Cow was way too slow. Even though it's a good quality of a film, this movie is just so slow. 5 stars. I wanted to gouge my eyes out. 5. Man. Ed, you gave X a 5. Did you want to gouge your eyes out?
I wasn't a fan. I mean, in a couple scenes, yes.
Ed wasn't a fan of the wiping her back off with a towel. It made him feel too uncomfortable.
Sure.
So she gave this a 5?
Steven gave First Cow a 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the movie was this.
I don't know about a 5 wanting to gouge your eyes out. Like a 2 is wanting to gouge your eyes out because it's like this is unwatchable.
Barry says Countdown was a fun rewatch, not as bad as I thought. I'd recommend it. And different new age kind of horror flick. 7 stars from Barry. Nice. Barry checking out Friday the 14th. Here's another one. Omar says that art question last week gave Juan a stroke. The stroke comment was on point. I love hearing good questions come on though. Big fan. Been listening to the show for a while. You guys put out really good content. Can't wait for some anime reviews.
Nice.
I did have a fucking stroke last week when me and Ed were going back and forth about Edward doesn't consider men art. And it just blew me away.
Yeah.
Lawrence, I'm super stoked for your thoughts on From Dusk Till Dawn, one of my all-time favorite movies. I can't wait to hear you guys review on X. X was good, but I still felt like something was missing. Good kills, 6 stars.
That's kind of how I
fair.
felt. Yeah, that's fair. Thank you, Dave.
Kendall says Men was good up until the birth scenes, 6 stars.
So before then, 8 stars.
Yeah. Coco Chris says First Cow completely sucked. What a terrible, slow-paced film. 4 stars. How can Juan and Zach like that, but not like Power of the Dog? They're both terrible. 4 stars. I gave First Cow a 6. I wasn't in love with it. I agreed that it was like a slow paced film. Uh, I think it's a little bit lesser than It's Fine. I gave it a 6. I wasn't in love with it. So
What does that give it?
I think Zach gave it an 8 or a 9. So, but yeah.
There's a reason he's not on today's episode. No, just kidding.
Man,
Sam G69 says, "Man, X was such a unique, uncomfortable watch, but the kills were so good. I don't know how to rate this movie other than it's what a horror movie is supposed to make me feel, uncomfortable. For that, I'm giving it 9 stars."
I can feel
Nice.
okay. I can feel that.
Can you?
He can't.
I
I can't feel anything.
Nah, man, I can understand how he's explaining that it's supposed to make you feel uncomfortable, and it's supposed. I can understand that. That's a good.
I just really agree with the one prior where he's like, the kills were good, but it felt like something was missing. That's where I'm at. I think
that one is fair too.
I think it's good, but I do think that there was just one thing that I was missing. I can't put my finger on it either.
So we're done with A24 for a few weeks, guys.
Never.
What? It's never goodbye. It's always see you later.
Oh my
with
God.
A24. So that being said, guys, next Monday, episode 209. It's the 4-year anniversary of this podcast. I had such a hard time thinking about what to do. Do we have to have a special episode? Do we have to have a girthy episode? And I'm like, you know what? I don't think so. Not this year. It's just a 4-year anniversary. I think some things are going to be better and bigger when we talk about number 5. But I do think the movie had to be a Denzel movie because of just this entire year being themed after the GOAT, after the greatest of all time. We might argue tooth and nail come that Denzel episode, but I think he truly is one of the greatest to ever breathed, one of the greatest to ever have maybe read a script. But next week we're talking Philadelphia from 1993, a very touchy subject matter, tremendous film. I've talked about it a few times on recent watches. Tom Hanks won Best Actor for this. I think Denzel was nominated for Best Supporting Actor. So next week, episode 209, 4-year anniversary. What are you guys most looking forward to about Philadelphia?
I don't know anything about it.
Reviewing it again, because don't get me wrong, Craig, this is going to be a story for that matter. It's not necessarily a bunch of action. It's not necessarily,
stories.
Well, yeah, but this is
touche. Not only the movie, guys, but what are you guys looking forward to about just being on here for year number 4? Year number 4 is officially in the books, and we go on to year number 5.
Yeah, it feels like it was yesterday we did year number 3. It's just time's flying, man. We get to this point.
We're at 208 episodes.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
We get to this point in our lives, and time just kind of flies. And the next thing you know, it'll be year 5, and we'll be talking about, Avengers coming soon after that, and it's just crazy how fast time starts to fly.
Yeah, that is true. I will agree on that. Year 4, man, big thing, big kind of success for this so far. That's whether we have 5 listeners or 1 million. It doesn't matter either way. It's just been kind of a nice adventure with y'all. So yeah, it's been awesome so far. So this is Ed saying, I'll see you on the silver screen.
Craig,
we leave it already?
Next week, Craig, we're getting on to Philadelphia. Do you have anything you want to add to the final nail in the coffin for X, or are you just looking forward to Philadelphia next week?
Yeah, I'll kind of piggyback off what Ed said. We talk about these movies just kind of to talk about them amongst ourselves, but never. at least I didn't think that we would get people that would interact to this degree and see the amount of downloads that we have. It's never. I mean, we always kind of said like, you know, it'd be cool to be like big time. I mean, everybody kind of thinks it would be cool to be big time if you're doing anything like this, putting out content. But just to see people actually listening and interacting and enjoying what we're putting out, it's pretty cool. You know, again, you never think about it whenever you start it, but you always hope for it. So, yeah, just continue to go and grind.
Yeah. And then Thursday, September the 1st, this Thursday, 7:30 p.m., join the special guest, Edward, and myself as we talk anime bonus series. It's the first time ever that this podcast is talking about anime. So tune in this Thursday just to hear what it's going to sound like. It's going to be an introduction. It's going to be Edward talking about anime. It's going to be the new special guest and new eventually guest host introducing himself to you guys and talking about what his thoughts are and why he wanted to talk anime and why he thought it was a brand new and good idea for the Cinema Movie Podcast to talk about anime. So I'm excited. I can't wait for him to introduce y'all self to him. And you know what? Tokyo Revengers this Thursday, September the 1st. And then next week, the Cinema Movie Podcast year 4 your 4-year anniversary show, Philadelphia, right here next Monday, September the 5th, Labor Day Monday on the Cine-Men Movie Podcast.